Welcome to Taxidermy Truths, where we discuss the ins and outs of not only the taxidermy process, but the influences on the hunting community as a whole. With over 25 years in the wildlife and taxidermy industry, I host open conversations with artists, experts, and industry giants. From sustainable utilization to shipping rates, we dig into the reality of the experience after the safari and hear real stories worth remembering. Hi there. Welcome to Taxidermy Truths. My name is Douglas Cocroft. A little while ago, I received an email from a client asking about the relationship between the taxidermist and the clients, and the taxidermist and the outfitter. The gentleman who posted the mail and asked the question is not a client of ours. He will be in the future once he's finished his next hunt, but he wanted to understand how he could choose his taxidermist and what the relationship between the outfitter and the taxidermist was and how that impacted him as the client. It got me to thinking. Taxidermy, while we have the privilege of working on incredible animals and sharing in adventures of hunters from all over the world, the one thing that is very clear is that the industry is built on relationships. It's built on the relationship between the taxidermist and the outfitter, between the taxidermist and the client and the PH. What about between the shipping agent and the clearing agent? Or the taxidermist and the shipper? There are a multitude of relationships and dynamics that are constantly at play. The fact is, without these relationships, businesses wouldn't be able to formulate an ongoing method and system of cooperation to best service the client. So let's start from the taxidermist's perspective. As a career taxidermist, I've always felt that my first obligation is to the hunter. We are there to produce beautiful, anatomically correct work at a reasonable price to an international or local hunter that they can appreciate on their wall for years to come. Over the period of doing the work, we do have the opportunity to become friends with a lot of our clients. Just last night, I received a phone call from a client that we've just finished their order. I remember meeting this gentleman, let's call him John. I remember meeting John about a year, 14 months ago. He shot a wonderful bag of animals, had an incredible safari with his family. I met him in camp, and from the first meal we shared, we had a lot in common. Same age, family dynamics, both love hunting. We both enjoy the business of our businesses, and we've become friends. He picked up the phone last night after receiving his trophies and was over the moon. I was happy about that. So John, who started off as a client, is now a friend. I know I'm going to see him in January when I travel to the States again. And I know that when he's next in South Africa, I'll make a point of visiting him in camp with his family. That relationship has now been cemented. We have the privilege to have done that while we get to produce beautiful taxidermy work as taxidermists and share our love of wildlife across the oceans. So the relationship has begun and it's been cemented. But to get to John had to hunt with an outfitter. That outfitter in turn introduced the taxidermist to the client. So they are part of our journey of relationship with client. As I said, I've always felt that I have multiple relationships in any one consignment's journey. The relationship with the hunter, the relationship with the outfitter. If the outfitter skins the animals well and salts them well, we get a better canvas to do beautiful artwork. It's important from the taxidermist perspective that we communicate well with the outfitters and make them aware of exactly what is required to achieve the best possible outcome of trophy. It's a relationship because we have a knowledge and a skill set that we share with the outfitter. And the outfitter has a knowledge and a skill set in harvesting great quality trophies and seeing that the client's experience is exceptional. So while we're busy on that magnificent buffalo mount, the taxidermist is accountable to the hunter in producing a beautiful piece of work. We're accountable to the outfitter because the outfitter has introduced the client to us and wants to be sure that we look after his client and his relationship with that particular hunter. The dynamic of relationships stretches further. in that once the taxidermist has completed the taxidermy and putting this incredible order together for the hunter and making sure the outfitter is looked after and we meet his expectations in the art form we produce for his client, we now also need to ship the trophies from South Africa to final destination. There are multiple shipping companies, and we could quite easily put it out to every shipping company and say, everybody bid on it. The problem with that, we have found, is that the time it takes to accumulate all the bids adds up very quickly. And by now, the hunter is really eager to get their trophies on the wall. So if we can get the shipment out of South Africa at a market-related rate as quickly as possible, it means the client is happy. If the client is happy, the outfit is happy. If the outfit is happy, the taxidermist is happy. We're all getting the win, win, win. So building a relationship with a shipping agent is important. If the shipping agent fails to do what they have to do, the domino effect is the client gets frustrated. Frustrations get vented to the outfitter blames the taxidermist, and the taxidermist then has an axe to grind with the shipper. It's a nasty knock-on effect. Thus, the importance of having the relationships with the right service providers. Now, in the hunting industry, now more than ever, price is being used as a bargaining chip. Price affects relationships, because while a cheap deal might seem to make everyone happy, let's remember the domino effect. The cheap deal does not have the backup to look after the client, the outfitter, and the taxidermist should something go wrong in shipping. The cheap taxidermy deal does not have the scope to produce a high quality piece of artwork that will be remembered for a lifetime. That piece of work is going to be a reminder that although you got a cheap deal, it looks like cheap junk on the wall. And now it's too late. And that cheap deal reminder would mean that that client would have a bitter taste in their mouth, and their relationship with the outfitter would be soiled. The outfitter is now cross that they've lost the relationship with the client, and they now look at the taxidermist and say, but why didn't you produce beautiful work? Well, they couldn't. Cheap prices and great work have never gone hand in hand. Cheap prices and fast work have never gone hand in hand. The point where we look after relationships is high quality work at a fair rate with open communication with everybody. But now there's another relationship between the shipper and the clearing agent. So that shipment gets expedited out of South Africa, goes to the United States, for example. And a clearing agent is put in position to clear the trophies into the United States. If that clearing agent doesn't communicate their task effectively to the client would see the shipper as having failed. They would have seen the taxidermist as having failed, because it's now a negative experience. After so much excitement, to have to deal with hurdles becomes the catalyst for that knock-on effect where relationships are tested. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And this is what got me thinking about how valuable these relationships are within the taxidermy and the hunting industry. Professional hunters have the privilege of spending 10 uninterrupted days at a time in South Africa or Africa hunting with an international hunter. Bonds are built. When you follow the track of a buffalo through thick marsh for days on end, your nerves are constantly picked. At any moment, that bull could come rushing through at you. It's amazing how close the relationship between professional hunter and client becomes. The relationship between the outfitter and the taxidermist is critical. The taxidermist needs to understand how much effort, how much emotion, how much excitement and adventure has been put into the relationship up until that point. The taxidermist is now responsible for literally capturing those emotions, that friendship, that experience in a piece of art. When the artwork doesn't meet the adventure and the emotions, something is lost, something very valuable. And when the shipper doesn't ship as efficiently as the taxidermist requires, a little piece of the story is lost. The emotion, And every time something negative comes into play, it takes one of those wonderful parts of a story away. So from a taxidermist perspective, I can only be grateful for so many amazing relationships in the hunting and taxidermy industry. The truth is, there are a lot of incredible operators around the world. If we build a relationship with one another and we network together, I know we'll be able to produce a level of service, quality. Hey, we'll be able to take these memories, these wonderful experiences, turn them into something that can be put into your room, hung on a wall, and appreciated as a reminder of exactly what you went through to get to that point. Relationships are important. They are critical, actually. The relationship between taxidermist and outfitter is one of support, of encouragement, of learning with one another. The client always has the choice of who they send their work to. They always have the choice of either having dip and pack done in South Africa and sent back to the US or Europe to have their taxidermy done there. They can choose wherever they would like to send their work because you're investing in your memories, you're investing in a moment in time. And you need to be content and at peace that the artist that's handling your work is going to do your memories justice. The fact that outfitters do have relationships with a taxidermist simply implies that the taxidermist has contributed in a positive way to them providing a wonderful service to their clients. That the taxidermist is efficient, that the taxidermist captures the memories of the hunts in such a way that the outfitter is confident that his clients, who he cares for dearly, will be looking at their trophies on the wall and remembering those spectacular times they shared in the bush. Relationships are important. Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it as always, and I hope that your relationships in the hunting industry between client, outfitter, shipping agents are all positive, and that they grow this incredible industry and continuously support the animals that we also dearly love.